Hey everybody, it's Neil, and I'm super stoked to be back with you again. We're going to take a look at our long-awaited Gravity 2 virtual instrument in all its glory. We're here to do a walkthrough for my Gravity 2 track, so why don't we just get into it and take a listen to what this thing sounds like. You ready? I'm ready. Let's do it. Let's go. I mean, why else are we here? Alright, cool, that's the track. Sort of vibey and stealthy. Super pumped about the sounds in Gravity 2 and the engine. We spent so much time trying to get this thing to be exactly what we wanted. You know, the walkthrough, we're going to sort of just check out use case of me writing a track with Gravity, but there's plenty of other videos to really get into all the features of the engine and how it works. I'll do a little bit here and there, but the main goal is just to really listen. This starts off with a rhythmic pedal. So if we go there and open this instance, it's using this Gravity 2 menu XL for extra large, and it's the first time we did this, and it's super useful. So we have all of these loops. They're all under your fingers, so you can really just sort of hunt and find something that works. And the cool thing is that each loop has its own filter and EQ, and then there are global parameters, things like tone, where you have a global filter and EQ, drive with saturation and distortion, and there's different kinds of distortion, motion, which is a gate, and a really cool pitch bend, which I'll show you later, and then space, which is delay and reverb. There's also a 3-channel that I used down here for that really low rumble, and so you see channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, and they have discrete controls. So the envelope for channel 1 can be different than 2 and 3. The tone, like filter and EQ, can be different for each of the channels. Same thing for drive, motion, space. And then if we go over here, you see the waveform. And there's also this really totally sick sequencer, which is per channel. And we've made tons of snapshots for you to load in. You don't have to do a thing. There's just everything you could imagine. Different like reverses and stings and pads and tonal loops and hits and tails and crunches. I could go on. Why don't we take a look at the elements here? So if we start off, it's just really a timekeeper. So it just shows you the loop. And I have a little filter and EQ on it. So the real nuts and bolts, at least for the way the track sort of begins, is a mixture of the stings, and those are broken into hybrid tonal, atonal, organic, guitar effects. There's all these really cool elements, taking Gravity 1 to just a whole new place, like really inspired new fresh sounds and an engine that is just beyond our expectations with what you can do with the sounds to create a score that's just everything you want it to be. So if we play these two together, so you're hearing sounds. And that's called the drop. And it shows you the name of it here. And if we go to the snapshot, it's a transition, reverse, atonal, low. So there's atonal low and high. There's tonal low and high for reverses, for swells, and for stings. So there's so much content in the way it's curated. It's just super useful and quick to get under your fingers. So that one you'll see is called Maced Turkey, which is a pretty funny name. And I'm using filter on that one sound. I use this really cool feature. Right, so in this menu, you have all these different sounds, and you can adjust the start time and the volume in the pan, and again, the filter and the EQ per sound. All under your fingers. So there's Maced Turkey. And then if you click the expand source to keys, if you watch down here on the keyboard, it's going to become just that sound. So it literally takes that one sound and expands it for you. And that's how I was using it. And that way I can choose where I want it to hit tonally. All right, next up, we have some hybrid stings. If we open the sound, it's called Resonant Warmth. And it's in the mode of this preset, and it's in this XL menu where, again, you've got every possible sound on your fingertips in this category. It's sort of really gnarly stuff to bizarre stuff. Since I didn't really need to play too much with this source, I just left it in menu mode. And it's this underpinning sort of dark and sinister sound. So I didn't even get into, there's all these sources that you can load into the preset. You can decide on the first octave, I want to have this group or this bank of sounds. It's really deep. And in the other videos, it's really well explained. So to back out of this and go to the Master Effects page, we've got some really great stuff. We have Punish as always, but with 3 different flavors and some great control for the low end, the tone of it, and the response. Other things like compression, EQ, modulation, delay, and reverb. We'll expand our timeline and go right to the beginning. So I want to show you this sound. It's got some serious girth. And this is one of these 3-channel presets. So in the designer, you have all of these different menus of rhythmic moods and vibes under cue creators, ambient moods, tonal accents, enders, rhythmic beds, and then subcategories for each of those. Tonal textures, delicate, edgy. There is so much here. This one particular sound, it's using our 3-channel designer preset. So each of these channels has its own discrete controls. So I'm on channel 1, I've got delay and reverb. If I go to envelope, it's got its own envelope, and you'll see this channel is yellow, yellow, and yellow. Tone, you got your filter and EQ, drive, motion, which is really fun. On this one, the pitch is doing sort of a ramp up and down. Let's take a listen to that. So the pitch is literally taking all of these, because I have it linked. This little button is a link. There's copy and paste. All 3 channels have that pitch modulation going on, you can see. So if I shut it off, it just stays all on the same pitch versus... I love that. I think it's really useful and fun. So picking it up from there. All right, so this back half where the melody starts, there's a few things going on. The textures. So if we listen to those one at a time, just to give you a flavor of what's going on here. Barren landscape. Here's the waveform. You see it real time. I can move this. The next sound up is called Alien Bagpipes. As it sort of moves in a couple of bars. So that's a pretty neat sound. So here I wanted to create that pitch bend that I was showing you before. So if you go to settings and you go to motion, you have this. And it's really haunting. So there's a rate to it, how quickly that's going to move based on your tempo. And it's running smoothly through them, and then the amount is not crazy. You can sort of play with how tall this gets, fine tune the amount. So just to get that half bend up and down. So the second half of this melody, I'm actually using inorganics, which is one of the tonal textures. It's doing a similar thing with the bend. I really like that. It just, this feels like a stealthy vibe, and it has this sort of haunting quality with the bend. All right, so moving down to the impacts, because we've got impacts like you wouldn't believe. Here, if we go to this first menu. So I chose to use the breakout menu in impacts. So if you go to impacts, you'll see there's breakout 1, 2, 3, and then there's full mixes, mids only, which is sort of the crunch of the hit, subs, and tails. This actually gives you a huge amount of options. Jump up an octave. So you can start to create And then up here, the third octave, you have tails, so you could do, or you could start changing something. To create these complex hits. I thought that had a good sort of impact punch to it. Earlier on, I chose to use a different one. So if we play that along with the crunches, you sort of have a mini slow motion drum groove. So that's creating rhythm, and then I ended up using up here our rhythmic tonal pedals, and I'm in a triplet, so we get this. So that's sort of the backbone of what's happening with a rhythm. So you're going to hear the sub and the crunch along with the melodic rhythmic pedals and some of the stings. So let's go into this section and take a look. 2, 3, 4. So the second half of the melody here, we modulate down a minor third, we go to bar 25. So out of context, it sounds a little strange, but if we load in the impacts and the subs, it actually adds to that whole rhythmic vibe. And then we put in the triplet pedals. Just adds a cool little thing to it that gives it a little more personality. So let's look at that. What is that, one might ask? Beastly Snicker. I just used it as is. No effects, nothing. All right, and then above it, we'll check out this sting at bar 28. Hybrid tonal menu, which is a sting, and it's just that resonant warmth. It's such a statement. It has such a grounding impact to it. I really like that. Okay, let's land the plane here, right? All right, so we're going to finish out from the second half through the end. So we'll hear the second half of the melody where it modulates down to the outro, and there's a lot of effects and stuff. So this track is, like I said, stealthy. It's all about vibe. If we check out this swell. And that's the beauty of the swells. There are all these controls, half time, double time. It's synced. So it's a 2-bar swell. It sort of peaks out at the end of 2 bars and then fades out. And it works really well, starting with an impact. If we go down to our it's called Dark's Well instead of Dark's Well. That finishes it out, and that again is from the 3-channel. some bottom end. Let's check out this last guitar effects, which is a sting. There's a whole bunch of them in here, and they're really interesting. It's a cool way to end the track, just ambient. So if we take a listen to some of the sounds in that. So some really cool textures made by ambient guitar. So, all right, let's play the whole thing from the beginning, and we're out of here. You ready? I'm ready. And it's out. Cool. Thanks for tuning in and watching my Gravity 2 walkthrough. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe to our Heavyocity channel, and you'll be in the know for the latest and greatest news coming out of Heavyocity. Thanks again, and take care.